There is a view of history and human civilization that is characterized by the idea of unmitigated progress. Technology gets better, people improve their knowledge and skills, and it is just a rosy path forward. But the truth is far more complicated than just that, and far more daunting as well. Modernity might have brought us many benefits, but it also has created new problems and issues for us. These are the 5 greatest obstacles to human progress. The 19th and 20th centuries were characterized by increased mechanization and automation. Textile workers in the 19th century, a group of English workers called Luddites, rebelled against their replacement by machinery by destroying said machines. And while the factory conveyor belts of automobile manufacturers were once filled with human workers, the 20th century saw to it that they would largely be replaced by machines doing their jobs. Many people lost their work, and as a consequence, their livelihood as a result of this. Yet, at the same time, it is hard to argue against the fact that automation and mechanization have on balance made our collective lives easier. After all, cars and tractors are more efficient than horses and oxen have ever been. But the next set of work-related automation changes that will sweep over humanity will be far more consequential than any that have ever taken place before, because for the first time, virtually everything will be automated, and more importantly, replaced by capable and functional AI. Yes, you heard correctly, virtually everything. Even as you listen to this, there is music being composed for commercials by robots, stories being written for news outlets and websites by artificial intelligence, and checkout lines in supermarkets that are fully automated, requiring no cashier. And this trend is not stopping. Quite the opposite. It is greatly increasing. Creative people and highly skilled workers might think that they are immune to this, but they would be wrong. When robots are creating music and art that is indistinguishable from, and in some cases even better than what humans can do. And doctors and others are not safe from this either. Already, there are AIs that can diagnose illnesses and diseases, as well as treatments with lightning speed, pinpoint accuracy, and encyclopedic knowledge that far outstrips anything a human doctor is capable of. Truck drivers and cabbies will be replaced by self-navigating cars with far lower accident rates. And the list goes on and on. The truth is that although this seems like a form of progress, it is also a deep form of regression, since in the long run, the vast majority of people will not just be unemployed, but completely unemployable, since robots and AI are faster, less prone to error, and leagues cheaper for companies to use than fallible, frail, and weak humans. This is truly one of the most illusory forms of progress man has ever known. The best way to counter the above-mentioned problems would of course be to become more intelligent than machines, but the truth is that an overall intelligence shortage that afflicts humanity has historically and currently been an even greater problem than automation. Put it this way, the US military is desperate for recruits, and always willing to take almost anyone in, with emphasis on almost. Close to 10% of the US population has an IQ of 83 or lower, and the US military has created rules and made official statements to the effect of not being able to accept such people because there is nothing that they could do that would not lead to mistakes and inefficiency in the military ranks. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. For centuries, humanity has been led by the select few, blessed with extraordinarily high intelligence for the purposes of invention and scientific progress, and to some degree, that remains true, but by and large, we collectively remain a bunch of stupid hairless apes hurtling about on a chunk of rock in space in a tiny solar system on a planet that is doomed to destruction. The only way out of this mess would be to get smarter and devise a means of escape, such as the Chinese are already working on ways of genetically enhancing people, specifically working towards making them more intelligent. By way of contrast, such research is frowned upon in the West and thought of as ungodly in the United States. Regardless, lack of intelligence and stupidity are some of the greatest obstacles to developing a truly advanced civilization. While it is a trendy thing to say, be environmentally conscientious and worried about the impact fossil fuel and its derivative technologies have on the earth and environment, there are many more problems concerning fossil fuel reliance than just the environmental related to human history and progress itself. As we have discussed in previous videos, there is a real risk of something happening that could either wipe out humanity or set us back untold centuries. And if this were to happen, there's little to no guarantee of being able to get back to where we are now, and the reason for this is fairly simple. The largest contributing factor to human progress over the last 2 centuries has almost certainly been the discovery and use of fossil fuels. But with these being finite resources that have already been used and exploited excessively, it is quite possible that should something set us back, it would be impossible to retrace our steps forward because fossil fuel availability would be close to non-existent and much more difficult to access, because where it did exist, it would be far more difficult to get compared to the past. Thus, we could be trapped in a world of the primitive forever if something were to ever happen to humanity on a mass scale. Politics really seems to matter to most people, especially in the United States, where one's political allegiance can have a huge impact on one's interaction with family, friends, and more. But the reality is that our current political systems are little more than bread and circus shows repeating the same acts over and over. While it is true that political decisions can have an impact on society at large, the cyclical nature of politics, and indeed checks and balances, leads to a state of near-permanent gridlock where politicians just repeat the same slogans over and over, and voters actually think that whom they vote for matters, with it all ending up being the same bunch of nonsense at the end of the day. Our current political systems are largely based on the notion that democracy is the last and best destination of political development and civilizational progress. But the reality is that democracy is a messy and static system that does little to actually advance humanity forward. Our reliance on cherished notions of political systems and ideals, and our reluctance to challenge them when they are probably not working for us, could be the final nail in the coffin to actually moving human beings forward. While everyone pretends that engaging in the same set of failed monkey-see, monkey-do politics is the answer, by far the greatest obstacle to human progress is human nature itself, because of the evolutionary context we evolved in as a species. Having evolved as hunter-gatherers, equipped with limited senses, and only the most basic desires of survival and reproduction, we are unimaginably ill-suited to living in the modern world. Biological evolution takes untold millennia, if not millions of years, to unfold and bring about change. But technological progress has been far, far more rapid in the last few decades than anything our evolved nature and behavior can cope and keep up with. The result of this has been counterproductive, maladaptive behavior that keeps us from advancing forward, coupled by a maladaptive physiology that is exposed to far more stress and modern illness than our bodies can possibly deal with. Being wedded to a very specific biology and psychology is the greatest obstacle to human progress, because most of it is innate and subconscious, and most of the time we're completely unaware of how we sabotage ourselves, as we are, after all this time, just apes who got a lucky roll of the die millions of years ago on the plains of Africa. For more top lists just like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to check out our other lists. And thanks for watching, and thanks for learning.